The road was vanishing beneath the snowfall, a relentless swirling whiteout that made it nearly impossible to see past her windshield. Claire tightened her grip on the steering wheel, knuckles white, pulse hammering. The high beams did nothing but illuminate the endless current of flakes rushing toward her, as if she were flying through space instead of driving down an isolated mountain road in Vermont. She shouldn't have left. Her friends had warned her, "Stay the night, Claire, it's not worth the risk." But she had insisted. The storm wasn't supposed to hit this hard until morning. She had work the next day. She could handle a little snow. Now she wasn't so sure. Her tires crunched over the thickening layer of ice and snow. The wipers struggled to keep up. Every so often the car fishtailed slightly, just enough to send a jolt of fear through her. She forced herself to take slow, even breaths. Easy. No sudden moves. Then a new problem arose. A light flickered on the dashboard. Her stomach twisted. At first, it was just a quick blink, a warning she hoped she could ignore. But then it stayed on. Bright, urgent red. Check engine. No, 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 Claire muttered. The car had been running fine earlier. Maybe it was just the cold messing with the sensors. She tried to ignore it. Then the engine sputtered. Her heart stopped. The car lurched, coughing like it was trying to clear its throat. Then, with one final shuddering jolt, the engine cut out completely. Silence. The only sound was the wind howling outside. "No," she whispered. She twisted the key in the ignition. Nothing. Tried again. The engine made a weak, pathetic noise, then died. Her breath came faster. Her fingers trembled as she fumbled for her phone, unlocking it with stiff, frozen hands. No service. A lump formed in her throat. She was stranded. Alone. She reached for her coat, pulling it tighter around her. The temperature inside the car was already dropping. She turned on the hazards, though she wasn't sure why. Who would see them? She hadn't passed another car in nearly an hour. The snowfall thickened, hammering against the windshield. The road ahead was disappearing. Soon, she wouldn't even be able to tell where it was. Panic swelled inside her. She was miles from town, no way to call for help, the cold creeping in. And then, just when it seemed like she was out of options, she saw something. Headlights. A vehicle was approaching from behind. Her relief was immediate and overwhelming, but just as quickly, fear slithered in to replace it. Who was it? She was alone on a deserted mountain road in the middle of a blizzard. This wasn't the time for blind trust. What if it was someone dangerous? The car pulled up behind hers, its headlights glaring through the snow. A moment later, the driver's side door opened and a figure stepped out. A man. Tall, bundled in a heavy coat and hat, face obscured by the swirling snow. Claire's breath caught. Her first instinct was to lock the doors, but then she realized, what would that even do? The car was dead. She had no heat, no help. The man approached cautiously, lifting a gloved hand in greeting. She cracked the window just an inch. "Hey," he called over the wind. His voice was deep, calm. "You all right?" "My car died," Claire said, her voice unsteady. "No service." He nodded, stepping closer. "Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated, then seeing no other option, she popped the hood. The man moved to the front of the car, disappearing behind the raised hood. Claire sat stiffly in her seat, watching in the mirror as he worked. A few minutes later, he came back to the window, shaking his head. "Battery's dead. Probably the cold got to it." Claire swallowed hard. I don't know what to do." He hesitated, then gestured toward his truck. "I've got jumper cables. I can give you a boost. If that doesn't work, I can at least give you a ride somewhere warm." She hesitated. He seemed genuine. His truck was an older model pickup covered in snow, like he'd been driving in this storm for a while. She studied his face. What little she could see beneath the layers of winter gear, his eyes were kind. She made a decision. Okay." He nodded and went back to his truck. A moment later, he returned with the cables, hooking them up with practiced efficiency. Claire sat in her car, holding her breath as he motioned for her to turn the key. She tried once, nothing. Tried again. The engine sputtered, then miraculously roared back to life. Relief washed over her. The man gave her a thumbs up and unhooked the cables. Then, grabbing a snow shovel from his truck bed, he quickly cleared around her tires. "Should be good to go," he said, brushing snow from his sleeves. Roads are nasty though, take it slow. Claire nodded, overwhelmed. Thank you. Seriously, I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't come by. He smiled, the first real look she got at his face. Just glad I could help. She put the car in drive, rolling forward cautiously. As she passed his truck, she glanced over, taking in the battered license plate and the faded company logo on the door. It read, Caleb's Auto Repair, Montpelier, Vermont. Of all the people who could have found her tonight, she'd gotten a mechanic. A laugh bubbled up, light and disbelieving. Claire drove on, her hand still shaking slightly on the wheel, but this time it wasn't from fear. This time it was from gratitude. Thanks for joining us on the open road, where anything can happen and there's always another adventure right around the corner. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the open road.